A 20-year-old YouTuber just did what Disney couldn't. While a brand new Star Wars release from one of the biggest studios on the planet posted the weakest opening in franchise history, a horror movie from a first-time director who uploaded his original idea to YouTube broke box office records that some studios spend hundreds of millions chasing. This isn't a fluke. This isn't a lucky break. This is Gen Z quietly rewriting how movies get made, marketed, and watched. And Hollywood is scrambling to catch up. The generation that grew up trusting creators, not studios. Here's what makes this shift genuinely generational rather than just a lucky trend. Gen Z didn't grow up trusting a studio logo. They grew up trusting a face on their screen. For over a decade, this generation has built relationships with YouTubers the same way older generations trusted movie stars or directors. The loyalty is real, the trust is deep, and it turns out that trust translates directly into box office dollars. Take Markiplier, real name Mark Fishbach, one of the most established names to come out of early YouTube. When he decided to direct a feature film, his audience didn't need a marketing campaign to convince them it was worth watching. They already trusted him. His sci-fi horror film Iron Lung was made for roughly $3 million. It pulled in more than 50 million worldwide. No massive trailer campaign, no billboards, no television spots. Just an audience that already existed and already showed up. From comedy sketches to the Toronto Film Festival. The same pattern shows up with Curry Barker, and it's an even more direct pipeline from internet culture to the big screen. Barker built his following making quick, relatable comedy sketches, the kind of content Gen Z has consumed by the billions of hours. Then he started making short horror films between skits. One of them caught the attention of a film producer who wanted to option it. Barker had a better idea. He pitched an original concept instead. That concept became Obsession. In about a year, he went from shooting sketches on a shoestring budget to directing a feature that premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, landed distribution within days, and hit theaters for under $1 million. It was projected to make around $8 to $10 million domestically. Instead, it earned millions on opening day alone, and kept climbing in its second weekend, which almost never happens. Wide-release horror films drop hard after their debut. This one didn't. The 20-year-old who beat A24's own track record. And then there's the one that really drives the point home. Kane Parsons had just turned 17 when the Backrooms was officially announced. It was based on a viral internet horror concept he'd already been building as an independent web series, before any studio got involved, before anyone in Hollywood even knew his name. By the time it hit theaters, Parsons was 20. The film became A24's biggest opening weekend ever, made him the youngest director to land a #1 film at the domestic box office, and is on pace to be the largest original horror debut in box office history. A teenager built a franchise on the internet. Hollywood showed up later, not the other way around. Why the old system can't compete anymore. So why is a generation of internet creators outperforming multi-hundred-million-dollar franchises? Because the traditional studio model was built for a world that doesn't really exist anymore. For most of film history, success was simple. A movie played in theaters. The box office total told you if it worked. Done. That model is broken. Theatrical runs that used to last 90 days now sometimes end in 2.5 weeks. Revenue is spread across streaming, video on demand, international deals, and merchandising. Nobody can read the numbers clearly anymore. So, what do big studios do when they can't read the numbers? They stop taking risks. They greenlight sequels, reboots, franchise extensions, things with built-in audiences and predictable returns. Which is exactly why theaters have been drowning in the same 10 properties for the last decade. Ben Affleck put it plainly, it's nearly impossible to produce even a modest film for under $25 million once real costs are factored in. Marketing budgets often match production costs dollar for dollar, A film needs to gross close to double its budget just to break even. And the industry keeps consolidating, the big 5 studios becoming the big 4. Less competition, less incentive to innovate. The result is exactly what younger audiences have been rejecting for years. Safe, predictable, familiar. A24 figured out the Gen Z playbook early. While the major studios were playing it safe, one studio built its entire identity around the audience everyone else was ignoring. A24 did the opposite of everything the big studios were doing. Wide range of directors, creative freedom, budgets averaging around $8 million compared to blockbuster hundreds of millions, a brand built around originality and aesthetic rather than franchise recognition. And a social media strategy that turned movies into cultural moments rather than one-time ticket purchases. The result, A24 became genuinely cool to younger audiences in a way legacy studios simply aren't. It's no coincidence that A24 picked up The Backrooms, a film literally born from internet lore, built by a teenager before any executive was involved. And inside the traditional system, the projects getting real buzz are the ones actually taking risks. Ryan Coogler's Sinners, an original story built around a dual role for Michael B. Jordan, became the biggest opening weekend for an original film this decade. Not a sequel, not a reboot, not based on existing IP, original. Coogler reportedly covered budget overruns personally because he believed in it. That's the kind of risk-taking Gen Z audiences have been rewarding, and the kind traditional studios have mostly abandoned. Gen Z didn't set out to break Hollywood. They just kept trusting the creators they grew up watching, kept craving original ideas over recycled IP, kept showing up for movies made by people who looked and sounded like them. Instead of a corporate slate designed by committee, Hollywood built an entire century-long system assuming audiences would always show up for the familiar. This generation proved that's no longer true. And the numbers don't lie. If this one changed how you see Hollywood, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Drop a comment below. We want to hear what you think. See you in the next one.